Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Forge of Champions. We have had 2 quarterfinals already, and we are about to head into our final 2 for the last Forge of Champions qualifying tournament. That's right, Forge of Champions 4. My name is Enclave, joined by Celtic Tiger and BP. Good games yesterday, then.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun had, for sure. They were hypey, anyway.
Hype games, so exciting games, and you know, it was good to see, you know, some different results coming out, but you know, kind of like surprises, almost surprises as well. So
yeah, I know we had the Irish team do really well. NSG, very proud of them. I think they put on a really good showing. Unfortunately, didn't do enough to get to our top 8. They were very close. If they made the semi-finals and Barrage had lost, then they would have made that top 8 position. But regardless, they can hold their heads high. Got some good points. Got a bit of prize money behind them. Yeah. Always a nice way to exit.
This does lock in our top 8, though.
Yes.
Something we haven't talked about. I mean, the 8 Premiership teams will be our top 8, but now it's all for seeding. Will they face up against? Yeah,
so we will show you the points bracket at the end of this tournament next week. But as it stands, the top 8 is now locked in. We pretty much have our top 8 absolutely sorted. It's just about where they're going to end up. Right, so if you don't know about Forge of Champions, then we have a small graphic to help you understand. It is a fairly complex system, but it's easy once you break it down. Very, very simple. Simply, simple's not a word. Can't use it in that stage.
Like
anyway.
Compare the meerkat.
Let's have a look at this graphic, and I can explain Forge of Champions to you. Forge of Champions is broken down into 4 individual qualifying tournaments, each of which with their own unique rewards and prizes. Now, each qualifying tournament is broken down into an open stage and a scoring stage. The open stage takes 64 teams from across the UK and Ireland and pits them against each other, with the top 8 qualifying for the scoring stage of the tournament. They will then get seeding for the scoring stage based on their final positions. There they will match up against 8 previously invited Premiership teams, where they will battle it out from a round of 16 bracket. The teams will then be given points based on their positions at the end of this tournament, and the top 8 will also earn a good amount of prize money too. Now, the points ramp up over the course of the 4 tournaments, so the first tournament is less important than the 4th tournament when it comes to getting your qualifying position. The top 8 teams will then qualify for our grand finals, where they will earn a lion's share of the prize money, as also giving a extra special position to the EU Masters. The EU Masters is going to be having 2 spots up for grads in Forge of Champions, the grand final winner and a qualifier with the most points. So at the end of this tournament, we will have 1 EU Masters team locked in, and the next will be decided in September, I believe.
September 5th and 6th, I believe.
September 5th and 6th, when we have our finals. The winner of the overall competition will also grab that other spot. Didn't have my script out for that one. Didn't know if you could tell. Forgot to get it out. Had to wing it. My bad. Right, let's move on. Okay, if you want to get involved with us here on Forge of Champions, you can go to the Twitter at LVPUK and use the hashtag Forge of Champions 4. Obviously, feel free to send in your thoughts about the broadcast. Make sure you send in thoughts about us, our shirts. I don't know, the team compositions. Look at how nice Tig's shirt is. I'm just really referencing because it's a nice shirt.
It is actually a very nice shirt.
BP's is like solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Mine's pink, so it's 10 out of 10.
It's a solid colour choice, too.
It's a good colour choice. Yeah. If you want to watch any of the previous VODs back, God knows why you'd want to listen to us again twice, but if you do, then you can go to LVP UK on YouTube. So go to YouTube, LVP UK, and all of our previous broadcast games specifically. You don't actually, you can actually cut out most of us, don't worry, guys.
You can literally just mute and just watch the game. Just watch the good gameplay.
Exactly. It's all there for the gameplay. All of the VODs will be up on the YouTube channel. Please go and check that out. And before we move on to questions and brackets and that kind of stuff, I do want to tell you that there is a what's the word I'm looking for? Questionnaire for you to fill out. Survey.
So I was wondering. I was like,
questionnaire,
survey?
I prefer.
Yeah.
It's a nicer word.
It's a nice way. Okay. There is a questionnaire for you to fill out on LVP UK's Twitter. I'm sure they'll tweet a link to it. If not, you can scroll down and find the link in those tweets. It will also go out in Twitch chat, I believe, at some point, and we'll constantly keep posting this throughout the broadcast. Make sure you fill this in. It is a small 3-minute feedback form about the broadcast, about what you like, what you don't, and you can suggest improvements, which LVP take very seriously as they want to improve the overall quality of the stream. There you go. So, I think we can move on, as we've now heading in towards actual League of Legends territory, and when I get the option 2, I will bring up the bracket for you, because the bracket will have the 2 remaining quarterfinals that we have yet to play, as well as also the semi-finalists that we have already. So you can see here, Wind and Rain and Excel Esports have already qualified for the semi-finals. The 2 remaining quarterfinals will be Enclave versus Barrage and Diabolus versus Misfits Academy. So we're going to start off, I believe, with Enclave versus Barrage, which means that we can sort of head into that and talk a little bit about it. Looks like on paper a one-sided matchup.
I don't think anyone's disagreeing with that. Barrage are just going to walk it. No, realistically, Enclave are coming in with the high expectations of victory. So a lot of this from Enclave's side is going to be how well can we showcase how good we are to the other teams going into the semi-finals.
I agree. I think Enclave, Barrage definitely have a chance of winning this. You know, obviously we shouldn't really put it past them as it's completely unwinnable, because nothing is completely unwinnable. But Enclave need to win this. The pressure will be on them because XL have already made it to the semi-finals. There is one specific race that we are looking at across this Forge Champions 4, and it's that race between XL and Enclave. 300 points apart. Enclave currently the top team. The other, XL or Enclave, will want to place above each other, because if they place above each other in the standings, then whoever places above is going to go to the EU Masters as it stands. Diabolus is still in with a kind of a shout, but I think if both teams make it to the semi-finals, then Diabolus, unfortunately, are not going to make that top spot. Which means they're not going to make that top spot because XL have already made it to the semi-finals.
XL have already done that, so unfortunately.
But now XL are through to the semi-finals. Obviously, Enclave do have the pressure on them to perform here. They want to make it through. If they drop out here, XL are guaranteed that EU Masters spot. So Barrage can provide an upset, but it is a long shot for them to provide that upset.
It's a little bit kind of, you know, you're looking at a David versus Goliath, but David did win that as well, so you kind of have to look at it from the side of, like, if Enclave come in underestimating Barrage, not respecting them. We've seen that a couple of times from a couple of teams throughout the 4 tournaments, that, you know, the big boys come in kind of saying, don't need to prepare, and then, oh, actually, we might actually need to take this seriously. And that's where, you know, Barrage, there's no pressure on them. They can take this at their pace, and they can really look to try and, you know, capitalize on some Enclave mistakes if they present themselves.
Yeah, Barrage have given themselves that top 8 spot now, so they will be going through to our grand final qualifying bracket. So they'll go to the playoffs, I believe was what we're calling them technically. Yes. So they will make it through to the playoffs now. So there's no pressure on them to actually perform if they don't perform, because obviously NSG are not through now. So I think the relaxation will have washed over Barrage.
A very big sigh of relief.
Yes, a sigh of relief.
After a very close series with Wind and Rain.
So a sigh of relief will probably wash over Barrage a little bit here. It might give them an edge if they don't sort of go in trying to play Enclave at their own tactics. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, it reduces the pressure for sure, which should help them in theory. But, I mean, it's all about if Enclave can show up as we're expecting them to, this should still be their game to win.
So, it's from an outsider perspective, you may have watched a bit of Enclave over the course of the last weeks. I know, Ashin, you were there when we were doing Enclave last time round. What has impressed you the most about Enclave, Tig?
I don't know. I mean, certainly their top laner, Rift, has had some great games where he's almost dragged the team through the game. So, I'd say consistently, that's probably been the shining light for me. Overall, I think their team play's been decent, but definitely if you have one shining star, that's always going to stand out.
For me, Enclave, personally, Rifty is probably my MVP of the whole team. He makes up for so much early game mess, like just by doing well. I've barely seen Rifty lose a lane in this tournament so far. He's looked very solid. Because obviously versus XL, when we were doing the casting of the last final, XL dominated the early mid games both times. Like, they got 5 to 6k gold leads over their opposition. Enclave looked behind, but Enclave's late game is what really shines for me. The fact that Rifty is so good at knowing when and where he can split push, as well as how to react to team fight situations. Very few times do you see a split push that he does turn into a team getting wiped and they actually get nothing from it. And Enclave's late game decision making is what gave them the edge over XL in these sort of late game team fights of the previous championship. So it's looked good in the late game for Enclave, but they need to shore up the early phase. Especially Rifty's laning is good, but everywhere else across the map it's felt a little bit lackluster, especially the bot side of the map. So I think that is some small weaknesses. Now Enclave don't have many weaknesses, and I think overall an incredible team, but we have to sort of look to somewhere where Barrage can exploit, and that might be it.
And I think the big thing, if I'm looking from Enclave's side, is, okay, we're against a team that's considered lower. If we lose there now, it's a massive weakness coming into the semi-finals. So they should be looking, especially at this early stage, to be like, if we can cut out all the weaknesses in these games, hopefully at the semi-finals we can maintain that form.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think going into this matchup, specifically BP, it should be a 2-0, right? I mean, anything but would feel a little bit bad for Enclave.
And that's the thing, and that's what I was saying, like, the pressure is on Enclave a little bit more than it is on Barrage. Barrage can play their own game and not really worried. If they get 2-0, well, sure, that was the expectation. They're not really expected to come out here and kind of come out swinging. Enclave, realistically, and we talked about it a little bit pre-broadcast, is that they need to come out here and they need to be convincing. It's not just, oh, okay, take a 2-0 that was kind of scrappy and, you know, maybe get through to the semi-finals. It has to be very convincing for us to kind of really look at them in the light of kind of like, are you the #1 team from the UK?
And I think that is a mantle that has slowly been passing over to them over the last couple of tournaments. XL, definitely pretty much everybody said, #1 team in the UK, #1 team in the UK. And then have looked a little bit shaky here, a little bit shaky there. Had some good performances, a win in Forge of Champions 2, a second place Forge of Champions 3, but Enclave have slowly been climbing. Enclave have slowly gone from a fairly quiet, unassuming first few rounds of the tournaments to outright slamming people in that third tournament. So I think Enclave's unassuming rise has put them very close, and they currently are, in my opinion, the best team in the UK. I think if XL can show that their late game is sorted out, and XL can show that they know how to sort of enact and capitalize on mid-game to late-game decision-making, XL probably claim that title back. But for now, for me, Enclave are the best team in the UK.
I mean, I still lean towards XL, but I can definitely see where you're coming from, and it's certainly a close call either way.
Oh yeah, so close, very close.
Either way, that close call, you're coming up against what's almost guaranteed at this point, close to 8th team in the UK.
Yeah, yeah.
Close to guaranteed. So you should be having a good showing here. You should go, okay, if we want to be first, we need to be destroying 8, especially if they then end up getting first for the grand final or the playoff stage.
I was just about to say as well, it's that if you don't have a convincing win over Barrage and then you play them in the playoff stage, it's going to be a little bit of a, you know, hot collar moment of kind of going, well, did we win, like, convincingly or not, or did we just take the mick? And it's just kind of like one of those things of, like, you need to show now that Barrage, if you are the 8th seed, again, not quite locked in yet, and we are the 1st seed, this is what you're going to come up against. And Barrage also got in their course, you know, not to take away from them, they can now prove to, you know, Enclave and kind of go, look, mate, yes, we're the 8th seed, but we're not exactly a walk in the park.
And I think we should focus a little bit on Barrage, because it's very easy to hone in on Enclave because of how prevalent they have been on the Forge of Champions so far. But Barrage, we need to give them a little bit of limelight. They did not have a good first tournament. They got beat by Super Duper Giant Truck Team, I think, which was one of the teams from the Newell. I think it was Exeter's University's
second university team, yes.
So obviously that was a big blow to their confidence coming into the first Forge of Champions. They've really been a round of 16 team ever since in the Forge of Champions. They've been naturally picking up very small amounts of points and stuff. I think they might have made it to a quarters once.
They made it to quarters last tournament.
Yeah, so making it to the quarters was enough to secure them that 8th spot.
Yeah.
Is there anybody on Barrage that you think you would look to in this particular game have the game of their life and they could potentially do some work?
I mean, normally you'd lean towards Governor because he's probably their most consistent player up the top lane, but he's up against Rift, so consistency might not be enough. I'd be looking then towards Zorky, who, you know, you're coming up against Monkas who's generally lean towards tankier junglers. Can you be a bit flashier, go for something a bit more aggressive, and see what you can make work?
Well, before we get into the game, I've just been told we have a tweet, so we can have a look at that and see what it says. If Barrage win tonight, then I will eat 7 raw eggs.
Such an odd number.
It is literally an odd number.
That's yeah. Why 7? If you could get back to us, like, actually, Jeff.
You have to buy like a tray of 6 and then buy an extra tray.
I'm not sure, Jeff. Not sure why the 7's there. Jeff, if you could let us know why the 7 is there, that would be much obliged. I mean, obviously, salmonella is pretty much eliminated in the UK, so don't worry about it. But just be careful. Raw eggs can upset your stomach a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd be able to finish 7 raw eggs.
I think I would struggle.
What if he, like, you know, turns it into scrambled eggs?
Then it's not raw.
Without cooking it.
You can't turn it into scrambled eggs without cooking it.
But no, what I'm saying is just like mesh them all together.
Yeah, that's what they do. I mean, they don't just like crack a raw egg into their mouth.
Yeah.
That's what I was picturing.
That's what I thought he meant. It's like crack. Okay, cool. There's the raw egg.
No, you usually just like crack it into a glass and just whisk it a little bit and then drink it like that.
Okay, that's not bad.
Have you tried that?
It's not great, but it's more palatable than the other option.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually just gagging thinking about it. I'll stick to my protein, thanks.
Now we want Barrage to win. We need to see him eat 7 raw eggs.
I'm not even sure I want to see it, but I just want to hear how it was.
I don't want to see it. Maybe a brief description would be great. Maybe a small article.
Maybe even just that I did it.
Yeah.
It's done.
I don't even need to see the proof if Barrage win, Jeff. I don't want to see the proof, really.
It reminds me of that guy who ate a sock once. He did like a full video of him eating a sock. It was the weirdest thing.
I'm pretty sure Medic promised he would eat something.
I was just about to say, Medic said that Splice was going to lose against TL in Rift Rivals, and he said that if they win, he'd eat a Splice jersey. A Splice jersey?
Medic, where's the Splice jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's sitting in the caster room, I can't confirm. It's just, it's not ready to be eaten yet.
I think he might be bailing. I think he might be waiting. I'm not gonna let him live that down.
As long as Jeff doesn't do that to us. Yeah. As long as Jeff doesn't
As long as Jeff doesn't, don't break our hearts, Jeff.
Don't bail on the bet. But
don't be a medic.
We are into picks and bans, ladies and gentlemen. Enclave on the blue and Barrage on the red. Yasuo banned away from Enclave. Aaron, pretty damn, confident on that champion, along with Aurelion Sol and Nidalee.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron has generally lent towards, this Yasuo, the Zoe, so could potentially see that banned away or something picked into it. Zoe a little easier to counter, in my opinion.
Yeah, Rakan and Camille also taken away. We're seeing a lot of Camille bans on this patch 8.15. A lot of teams seem to favor that. We saw NSG ban it away a lot yesterday. We also saw Eminem banning it away. And Varus taken away as well. So that could be a mid lane Varus, but also Bendy is pretty damn good on that champion.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of targeted bans specifically here, although the Rakan strikes me a little bit odd. Haven't seen too much of that from Hado. Very easy to gift over Taliyah to Enclave here. And the beautiful thing about Taliyah for Enclave is that it can go to Monkeys, but more than likely it goes to Eren. Eren actually plays Taliyah more than Monkeys here in Enclave, but you always have that question in your mind that it flexes so nicely.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing, because Monkeys is generally leaning towards these tanky styles. Probably see him pick up like a Trundle or a Sejuani, but you still have that option. I mean, it's still extremely good in the jungle.
And Lucian locked in though. They're taking it away from Bendy. Bendy known for his Lucian. They're actually going to lock in their bot lane straight away. Super strong early game combination of Lucian and Braum.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best duo bot lanes in the game. Safe into pretty much any matchup that you can think of. Very rarely countered. With the Rakan down, you don't have the Xayah Rakan.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the only thing you generally pick against Lucian, Braum, and now with that gone, it's a very nice pickup for their second rotation, or for their first rotation, I should say.
I'll have to wait and see what the side of Enclave reply with. There's so many ways they can go for.
I think you pick up your AD carry, but you don't have to pick up your support unless you're really worried. But Hado's got a really deep support.
Go Caitlyn Morgana.
Caitlyn Morgana's good into Braum, actually, yeah.
It's decent. It's kind of, you can play very far back as well, because Lucian, of course, wants to play up into your face.
It's not even that. It's just that you shove them in so hard. Like Caitlyn Morgana is one of the hardest shoving lanes in the game. And Braum is really bad at pushing back against it. Morgana was recently nerfed to try and limit her efficacy against Braum, but she's still strong.
Yeah, it just didn't work. Now we're going to see mid lane lock-in, I think, for them. So I like that.
I think that's a special pick for Seb. I think that's something that he plays.
I was going to say, it's something that he definitely plays, but also a lot of kind of, good wave clear against Siege, which is what Caitlyn was going to want to do.
I think this, I don't particularly like it into Taliyah, because if you get knocked forward by the seismic shove, you don't really have much move speed to get away from things like that. But that's assuming, again, that Taliyah goes mid lane.
Yeah, it could very well go to Monkeys. It just we usually see Eren pick it up because it baits out these mid lane bans here, for instance, and you can see jungle bans coming through. Don't know if you'd ban Kindred if you were playing Taliyah, because it's very easy to burst Kindred pre-6, especially if you match her.
Yeah. It's still possible. They just want to get rid of some of the best meta junglers here.
Quick question. Does Taliyah get her passive on Nivea Wall?
Don't know. Never tried.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that. Gragas banned away along with the Kindred. You talked about the Kindred can be burst down by Taliyah, so question marks over where that Taliyah is going, but Gragas now taken away as well. Some of the more tanky junglers.
So interesting. Barrage are like one mid lane ban, one jungle ban. We don't know where this Taliyah is going either.
That could well be a top lane ban as well,
yeah,
Gragas.
True, yeah.
So it's a massive flex that they might want to deal with.
An unrifty pick, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Last ban that comes in is going to be the Graves. They are pinching that jungle champ pool.
They're also getting rid of Kindred as well, something that's actually good against a lot of the tankier junglers you could pick up, like the Sejuani. So if you lean now towards a tank and give the Taliyah mid, I think this actually suits Enclave quite well.
So the Graves ban, I mean, there was no Nocturne ban, there was nothing like that. So for Taliyah jungle,
okay.
Kane locked and loaded, most likely going to reflect in that jungle.
Feels like a solo queue pick to me there, boys.
I don't know, I mean, this
Depends
means
if he goes
that,
blue or red
but
Kane.
no, what happens here is they go red Kane because you're expecting a tank pick coming out, and you do very well into all the tanks that they could pick up. Now is the question of whether Enclave want to deal with that or not.
Yeah, very true. It's going to be, that's immediately locked in. I think that's probably going to Rifty, and now we're going to get the indication as to whether Enclave are actually going to run Taliyah mid or Taliyah jungle, which is, again, I think Monkeys is just generally a bit more of a tank player. Sejuani is still up. It fits nicely into most compositions. Like I said, I think Sejuani is like a skeleton key of junglers. So.
I kind of like Trundle here, just so you're still a tank, but you can deal with Kayn a little bit better.
Yeah, I think Trundle's perfectly fine too.
And
or you put the Taliyah. Or you put the Taliyah.
And that is either an Aatrox mid or a Rumble mid. We have seen Rumble mid a couple of times, so it's not unheard of. But now the cards are on the table,
and I
to an extent.
I was going to say, I expect the Poppy here to counter the Aatrox, but then you can just swap the Rumble to top lane.
Yep. I think
that becomes an issue.
I was going to say Poppy would be safe, but you can just throw it up.
Renekton does okay versus both Aatrox and Rumble.
Does fall off hard.
Yeah.
Though,
But then you've got the follow-up of an Anivia. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter if you fall apart if you've got an Anivia.
True, but it is Poppy who is locked for Governor in that top side. We talked about he's a kind of consistent guy to watch, but let's see what is he going up against. It looks like for now it's going to be the Rumble, and I think, like you said just before that Poppy was locked in, the Rumble and the Aatrox, they can just flex. You can just literally show them up to
I think they were literally
either.
flexing until the last pick there, just in case the Poppy was locked in. You swap Aatrox mid.
I think
that's the. I don't think Aatrox is a particularly good matchup into Anivia.
I would disagree.
Not bad.
I would disagree for the sense that you can all in Anivia really easily as Aatrox. Good ganks with Taliyah for sure. I just feel that this is going to sound bad. I feel like Enclave are flexing a bit here. I feel like they're just flexing a little bit. I think this is it might be a very solid composition that they've been scrimming with or whatever. I just get the impression this is a bit of a flex composition from Enclave. They're like, well, look, let's show the people what we can do with something mental like this.
Yeah, because even if you look at the kind of the composition that Enclave have built up, it kind of does a little bit of everything at the same time doing nothing amazingly well.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about that comp, and it has really good lanes, and then once you actually ahead with Enclaves, it's very easy to continue forward because your siege is really good with Caitlyn, Morgana, Taliyah.
I mean, the mid-game objective control is insane. Like, Rumble is picked specifically for his mid-game objective control. Like, that equalizer can dominate. And again, you're right, the siege with the Caitlyn Taliyah combo, especially with Morgana in the field too, is great. Not great dive, because there's no one that's really going to act as a front line.
Aatrox can dive. Yeah, it's not ideal to have him as the only diver.
I was going to say, he has no buddy. You need a dive buddy.
But if you get a good Taliyah wall, and then throw the Rumble equalizer down, you throw anyone that can tank tower for 2 seconds and probably fine. Again, a lot of this predicates on them getting ahead, so you have to see how these lanes go.
And this whole composition deals with Poppy really well, by the way, because, I mean, no one's getting close. I mean, the way that Enclave play this is a long-range sort of a war of attrition almost, and then when they finally get enough poke down, you engage with the equalizer, or just the equalizer really, maybe the Taliyah, maybe the Taliyah wall, maybe the Taliyah wall, but apart from that,
that's kind of the big question mark over Enclave's composition. It's like if the equalizer completely whiffs, which in fairness we have seen it whiff even in pro play.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of where do you go then from there, because there's not really a huge amount you can kind of unless you get a binding or something.
This just to me, like I said, with flexing, feels like we're going to win lane, we're going to win game style composition. Like Rumble should destroy Poppy. Like Poppy can't trade very easily into Rumble, especially post level 4. Like, you know, once you get a couple of points in the flame spitter, you're going to start to chunk that up. You can gank this Anivia heavily, and if you do that nicely with Eren and Taliyah, you can put the Anivia behind, and Caitlyn Morgana is going to shove Lucy and Brahmin, so you're going to have priority on that first tier turret. This is all about the laning phase for Enclave. It's flexing.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like, we're saying that it's kind of flexing and it's maybe not fully respectful. I think it's respectful enough. It's still an absolutely viable strategy. It's just riskier.
I don't think it's disrespectful. Don't get me wrong. It's not a disrespectful strategy that they're pulling out, because these are all viable picks in their own respective roles. What I'm saying is against better teams, this would struggle, I think.
It would get punished.
Potentially.
I think if you ran this competition against XL, you would probably lose.
Yeah.
That's all. You know, I think it's all about lane priority. I think a lot of it comes down to them just being better individual players.
I think a lot of it also comes down to when they had their first 3 lock-ins, the Taliyah, Caitlyn, Morgana, very standard.
Yeah.
I think the last 2 were brought in as a response to the likes of Anivia and Kayn being locked in. I think they just feel more comfortable then going for a more aggressive style.
Yeah, and I think this plays into very much Enclave territory of being super aggressive. I mean, I guess we should kind of... We've talked a lot about the win conditions for Enclave. It very much feels like mid-game orientated. They've got great poke and great siege potential. What are we looking at when it comes to Barrage here?
I mean, it's not like they lack for mid-game damage as well. It's just as long as it's not a 5v5, they can probably do decently, like Braum and Lucian picking someone off, can be very quick. There's some options like that. I mean, a good Kayn ganks early can kind of disrupt what Enclave want to do. So again, I'll be watching Reflect, seeing if he can get into the lanes early on. I don't know. We haven't seen Kayn in a while, and there's good reason for it in a lot of cases.
It's interesting. It's a very snowbally jungle pick, in my opinion. Risky into a matchup where you might not get that kind of snowball like you would in solo queue. Like, a fed Kayn in solo queue is obnoxious. Like, a Kayn that's behind is awful. So
it's a bit like the Darius complex.
Yeah.
You know, like, Darius gets ahead, he just becomes the most awful champion to play against. If he goes behind, he literally can do nothing.
My thought for Barrage is if they get this to late game, the Anivia Poppy control combo in this team fight, I think the actual composition that Enclave have got will struggle to deal with that. Like, if they try to engage with Aatrox, it's so easy to split the composition up. If Rumble goes in, you can split him off from the rest of the team. The control that is offered there with almost no front line, next to no front line, means that Anivia is going to blow up anybody in the late game, realistically.
Yeah, I will say this kind of needs you to get to 35 minutes-ish.
Yes, I think
so
it needs you to get to a later stage of the game.
Yeah, it's not even like kind of 25 to 30. It's like if you're behind at that point, you're already struggling to catch up to your power spikes. So I'd like to see Reflect get into the lanes as early as possible and just try shut down Enclave before they get rolling.
Which lane specifically would you want to see?
I mean, for Kayn, I think the bot lane is definitely something you should be looking at, especially because Caitlyn Morgana should push up quite far, and Braum Lucian provide a lot of damage early on, and CC with Braum, and the quick concussive blows. I'd be leaning towards that, if he can make it down there, but there's a lot of ifs here, and the biggest issue as well is that, considering they're 4 range champions, it's very likely you'll pick up Shadow Assassin and then have to wait an extra 4 minutes to get your red form. Or I guess you can go Shadow Assassin. Very strange to do so in competitive, though.
Yeah, I'd be.
If someone does that in my solo queue game, I'm still just like, no. Red Kayn is just infinitely better in so many circumstances that it's like, it's just not point. No point.
Yeah, Shadow Assassin would be. And if he's snowballing like crazy,
I was gonna say, if he gets like an early 5 kills or something like that, hell yeah, go for it. But it's not looking.
Shadow Assassin is a lot more fun to watch.
Yeah. It is a little bit more fun to watch, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. And I honestly would love to see Barrage really kind of like, you know, punish, like you said, a lot of these kind of like strong lane pogs. Like the Caitlyn Morgana is a little bit harder to kind of punish, I feel, but maybe looking to get on top of the Rumble, stop him from harassing the Poppy, make that a little bit more free lane, but we'll have to see as the match goes forward.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with that is you don't get a lot from a fed Poppy. You just get a more even lane that will still start to favor Rumble at a certain point. So that's why I'm leaning towards this bot lane, plus you have a lot more damage to follow up with you.
Well, if you hadn't seen, ladies and gentlemen, we are into that first game between Enclave and Barrage. Enclave on the blue side and Barrage on the red. And you can see already Hado and Bendy are looking to shove this lane in very early on. And actually the response from the Barrage bot lane is not bad.
Yeah. I think it's kind of what you want. You know, the level 1s should be a little easier for you to respond with, but the key there is that Enclave got the push. So they'll hit level 2 first, they'll maintain the pressure that we expect from the Caitlyn Morgana duo.
Caitlyn Morgana is very frustrating to deal with, especially as a Braum who wants to try and get those concussive blows, and the Dark Shield, or the Black Shield I should say, is very good at just kind of nullifying any kind of aggression. As we see Aaron gonna dash in, does get a full combo of Qs off Seb, even not Smeb, he's in Korea. And just taking a lot of damage, and this Aatrox is going to be fairly powerful in these first early few levels.
Yeah, and now we get the fun part of Caitlyn Morgana, not if he misses the trap. I was going to say, that's the really annoying thing, when you get the snare and then you put the trap under it and you get this mass amount of damage coming out. Trap just a little bit short there, so he doesn't take the full brunt of that, but Unbreakable can cut out a lot of it too.
That's what we expected from the top lane. Rifty is going to shove in. Poppy, you can see it's so difficult as a melee bruiser type champion in the top lane that doesn't have a good trading potential, especially early on. It's so difficult to deal with a Rumble, especially with Comet. I mean, that's got to be obnoxious.
And this was the only issue I have with the Aatrox into Anivia. It's fine early, you have a lot of damage, and once you get to the point where you can all in, it's great, but at the end of the day, it is still somewhat a melee versus range matchup, and post 6, I think Anivia can play very far back and control the wave a lot easier. But you're far from 6 right now.
Very much agreed.
It's a long way away, unfortunately, but we actually did see a little bit of kind of like jungle trade there. Kayn went up onto, or Reflect went up onto the blue side of the side of Enclave, while the Talia was on the red side, or on the blue side for the red team. And we're kind of seeing them just kind of avoid each other for a little bit, try and see if they can get any kind of information, then set up their ganks from there. And as I say that, Bot lane is just, it's just going to be so...
There it is.
There's the really annoying combo into a Q from Caitlyn. It's just not fun.
Oh, he missed it anyway, even though they got dragged back to the center. Oh, it should have been enough to get egg, but not quite. Now he's stuck on the wrong side of this.
Yeah, he might have to burn his flash. Aaron is going to take a lot of damage now. Reflect, trying to maybe just keep pushing on top of this. Seb has got the egg Nivea available. Monkeys actually comes in and forces the flash from Seb, and that was a nice little rotation there. Actually forces the egg. Already.
He can still get it with the Q.
Can still get it, but will not. Now Monk is in a little bit of trouble. He needs to be careful. Forced to flash away from the Kayn. No one really goes down. Both flashes burned. Pretty equal trade.
The big thing though is Aatrox still has flash while Seb doesn't, and the egg is down. This is very dangerous for Barrage right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see every other lane is going in favor of Enclave as well. This is kind of what they wanted from the first few minutes of this game. Every lane is designed to have some sort of dominance over their opponent, and you can see Rifty now with a 10 CS lead on the Rumble. Almost 10 CS lead in the bottom lane, and it's already starting to open up in the mid lane as well.
Oh, I actually saw it. You could actually see the double no magic mantle because they were just trying to spam that in the top lane, but just a single one.
Is that me saying bye-bye now?
Are you saying
indeed,
goodbye
my
to
friend.
us? Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, our friend. And we are into game as just the duo. There were 3, and now there was only 1.
Reflect is back.
He's back. Reflect, trying to find something. Still has a flash there onto Aaron. No extra damage, though, from the Kayn is going to stop him a little bit. Yep. Honestly, I think the Kayn's just going to have to babysit this lane until literally the flash and the egg are back.
Yeah, I mean, the flash from Aatrox is forced there, so that does help a bit.
Yeah.
It's not great, and the big thing is, while he's doing this, the bot lane is losing heart. And this is why I was saying it's better to focus there, because first of all, Aatrox is great in the early game, but secondly, you have your strongest early game champion is in this bot lane. You want to get Lucian and Braum rolling so they can continue to dominate, and now you're just seeing them pushed in consistently.
Yeah, it's not a fun time for the bot lane of Barrage, but
I think the key thing that's actually happening is he's trying to farm red Kayn off the mid lane.
I was actually just about to say, I was just thinking maybe he's actually trying to get that evolution of the Kayn kind of, you know, into the red Kayn.
It is literally his only option. I mean, you can go top lane as well. Yeah. Technically, that's a Rumble. While you always consider this massive ranged harass, he is melee at the end of the day. For the purposes of picking up those orbs.
BF sword now for Bendy in this bot side as Caitlyn. And her early game is so oppressive, and it's just so difficult to really do anything about it. As I say that though, that's a first blood. Nicely done by Monkix. Perfectly timed with the dark binding into the seismic shove.
Yeah, I mean, I want to.
They can stay here. They don't even need to back away because they have so much control over this tower. It will go down if the side of Barrage aren't able to do anything. They will clear it, but they don't really gain anything else.
Yeah, there's Black Shield us waiting for that.
Oh,
no.
Kayn, need to be very careful. That Tormented Soil does do a lot of damage when you're sitting on it for a long time.
If Monkus had stayed where he was, he actually would have gotten another seismic shove off and been able to add more pressure, but I guess just not wanting to waste time, especially as Talia, who can farm that jungle so quickly.
Talia already having a much better time. Despite a little bit of a CS difference, has got that kill to her name. So Monkey's going to be feeling pretty grand about that. Heal was burned by Jakamaka, but no flash burn, so he's still relatively safe if he can dodge those bindings and those traps and those seismic shoves. And there's a lot of single target stuff he needs to dodge.
For sure. It's not awful for them, but certainly getting the Talia rolling was a nice thing for them. Once Talia gets Runic Echoes, that farming becomes ridiculous. With the blue buff up though as well, I kind of expected Talia to lean towards that side, but actually looking to make the play bot lane and steal the blue buff from the enemy.
And that's just going to be so frustrating for an Anivia player. Seb is just not going to have that constant base regen. You really do rely on those blue buffs. That's why Anivia is not seen as consistent a control mage in the current meta. So those blue buffs are so paramount to your survival in this early stage.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And we were talking about how Aatrox can be zoned away by ultimate, not if you can't keep it up for very long. And now we're going to see that bot tower go down with no contest. And okay.
Rift does miss the equalizer, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Rift!
Okay.
He went a little bit too far. Both flashes burned off of Rift and off Governor. And they do back away. That equalizer, we talked about it. Equalizer was pretty damn terrible. But
yeah, that was a bit
both
rough.
top laners get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, Rift still gets control over the lane, so while that was a pretty rough play, he picks himself up a nice CS advantage and XP advantage.
Picks himself up that one. Now the Infernal Drake coming in, and Barrage try to contest. They have got Aaron taking a huge full culling. There we go, flash in with the Glacial Fissure. Hado taking a lot of damage. He's the first one to fall down. They have got a little bit of zoning there with Seb. Doesn't quite get the wall though. Reflect needs to be a little bit careful. Actually gets the ultimate Monk Kiss. Trying to just keep him one side. Misses the seismic shove. Just missed timing it. Ends up being a kill. As the dragon goes down, it was a Inferno for the side of Enclave, which is the exact one they want, but they didn't respect the damage there coming out from Barrage.
Yeah, now it's Barrage who are attempting to respond by sending everyone up the mid lane. Not sure this is what they want to do, because there's enough response here that they're not going to get much off it. And you can see they've made the same realization, going to send everyone back now. Bit of a delayed back, but I would call unnecessarily delayed.
Yeah, kind of forgot about Caitlyn, which is kind of like, oh, she's so ranged, we have no mana.
Yeah, now that's the Runic Geckos we were talking about picked up on Talia. So going to have a very easy time consistently farming the jungle. On the other side, the Warrior is finished. So Kayn now doing non-ignorable damage, but really until that form gets hit, will still not be the major concern for Enclave.
Enclave definitely feeling
That's
good.
Shadow Assassin.
That is
Shadow Assassin
That
Kayn.
is Shadow Assassin Kayn. Oh, dearie me.
You know, he's the only kill that the team has. That's snowballing.
He's hard carrying right now. We'll have to see if it does turn into anything. And Hado.
Let's see.
Oh,
there it is.
Oh my God, so much damage. Reflect picks himself up a quick kill. Actually gets a flash as well. Hado misstepping, and that could potentially lead to the snowballing we were talking about. That's pretty big.
I mean, you're picking up Shadow Assassin Kayn. You have to start snowballing like this. So I really like the idea here. And if they can consistently set up death brushes like that, this could really keep rolling.
Yeah, definitely not what you wanted to see on the side of Enclave, who are looking for that kind of, you know, quick ramp up with items, quick kind of, you know, levels to get themselves those crazy black shields that just protect everybody. As we see Monkiss now needs to be very careful. So much damage! Flash in Q, auto attack, and that is going to be enough there. Seb able to pick up the kill. This Shadow Assassin Kayn, Excalibur is just sitting here in disbelief, shaking his head, kind of going, this is not how this should go down, but this is how it is going down.
Yeah, and the big thing here is they're just not respecting the fact that if you sit near a wall as a ranged champion that's fairly squishy, like the Talia, you're going to get punished like this, and now Caitlyn's getting the same treatment.
Caitlyn is going to be in a lot of trouble, a lot of hurt, doesn't actually get caught up there in the Reflect ultimate.
This could be the shutdown, though.
Yeah, could be a shutdown coming in. There is the Aatrox off on the backside. They're going to have to use the Caitlyn ultimate to try and get something there. Rumble now fighting the Poppy in the backside, but Aaron now in a little bit of trouble. Has got Ascension. Does have to back away with it though. No one goes down. A little bit of an overextension there from the side of Barrage, but they have the Anivia there. They're able to reply.
They tried to send Poppy down as well, I think? Or
no,
what TP got? No, it was Rift's TP that got cancelled. So, nice again for Barrage, who starting to show signs of life. Reflect replacing Zorky from the previous qualifying tournament, starting to show up for them.
Yeah, Reflect definitely got the Moby boots now, so he's really hard looking to try and snowball this game. He wants this over before 25 minutes. Like 25-30 minutes is what he wants to do right now, because after that it's just going to be very difficult for him if he can't get any more kills. Rift Herald is going to be started up. There is a ward though that shows this out, and it looks like the side of Barrage. They don't want to leave this slowing down. They want to try and contest for this.
You have a Kayn who's extremely fed, wants to get into that fight and start bursting people. See if you can find the opening, because now it's the TP.
Yeah, no TP on the Rumble. They're able to fight this. It's going to be swiped away in Enclave. What is going on with this team? They're making such simple errors. There was no need to go for that Rift Herald whatsoever.
No, you can go for that Rift Herald, but at least commit to it. Get the eye there. You left the eye up for Kayn to take at the end there because they were so scared of it. So either, as you said, don't go for it in the first place, or commit to it, make sure you get it, and run. Reflect is
asserting a dominance for Barrage that we haven't seen them being able to put down before. He's definitely doing something that's, you know, 100% great for their team.
I was saying that if we were looking for someone to step up from Barrage, it had to be in the jungle, because I didn't see it coming from any of the lanes that they'd previously had. Reflect coming in, replacing Zorky, is clearly allowing them to step up here and giving them control over this early game, for now at the very least.
Yeah, they got to be very careful, Enclave. They need to figure out where the next move is, where they need to go from here, and possibly not get caught off again. Hado did see a little glimpse of a Braum, which means they're probably setting up a Death Rush, so he was fine with just backing away. Now, actually, Monk is taking a lot of damage, has got the ultimate inside, and now Reflect. He's going to be caught up, though. Shutdown goes over to the Aatrox, but they may be able to trade this back. They have got the Lucian and the Braum there. No real damage, no real threat. They almost pick up the Caitlyn, but Bendy gets himself out. Aaron able to play the bodyguard.
That's a very important shutdown to pick up onto anyone. Now with Aatrox, you're going to be able to get towards that Black Cleaver, start shredding through this enemy's side. And now it's also probably going to look like, I imagine they want to send Aaron to the side to go deal with Poppy at some point. And bring, you know, Rumble back into teamfight around this point, especially as you start approaching that level 11. I expect to see that adaptation.
Blue buff being contested by a Rift here. Governor going to try and get something as we go into a replay. And you see the Braum, he does show himself, and then they look for the gank as you can see Aatrox just roaming up.
I think he's just missing there in terms of that look. And now it is... I mean, this is the issue with Taliyah. This is why some of the best matchups against her have been things like Nocturne, because once you get on Taliyah, she doesn't have a huge amount to get you off. You have to land that seismic shove, which is a small hitbox.
Yep, very small hitbox. Bendy just about dropping down the trap to stop the ultimate, or sorry, the Lucian ultimate.
Okay, a lot of damage from
Enclave. A lot of damage
Enclave.
coming down there. We're going to see the Egnivia coming down. They just get a little bit of vision information back into that jungle, and in the corridor, that's perfect pickings for the likes of Aatrox and Rumble.
And this is a double Infernal going over to Enclave, and while Reflect's having a good game, his team isn't seeing as much consistency, I would say.
Yeah, not so much. We're actually going to see triple Infernal in this game. Enclave wringing their hands together, knowing that this was the perfect RNG that they needed for their comp.
Yeah, they were able to continually snowball off this, and we were talking about how Barrage had control. Realistically, their control was out of, if we could set up a Death Rush, we could find kills.
Yep.
In terms of objectives, they managed to snake away the Rift Herald, but both dragons having gone over to Enclave, and no towers really under threat on either side right now. Aside from, of course, that first tower that went down. I think it's going to slow down very slightly until Enclave reset here. And now, as long as they don't fall for more Death Brushes, they should be able to gain control with how strong their comp is at this stage of the game.
Yeah, Kayn is still sitting on that Rift Herald, has gone top side. Morgana, Caitlyn to reply, mid lane under threat, and actually will be pretty much taken. You got the Lucian, you got the Braum, you've got enough kind of protection along with kind of, you know, good damage on the tower. Mid lane opened up, and that's actually a pretty big tower there for the side of Barrage. Now Rift Herald being opened up into the top side as Reflect starts looking for whatever he can. Hado takes so much damage. They get a huge chunk onto that turret, and honestly, the side of Enclave have to back away.
Yep, it's Reflect alone right now.
It's
now
Reflect
joined by the rest
of the world.
Now joined by the rest of his team. Enclave just need to start shoring up slightly, respecting the Kayn damage and sending, as soon as you see him, a few people to go deal with that.
Still, that crazy, crazy burst there onto Hado, and Hado, he's got a, like, AP, and that's about it. He's got his Moby boots, he's got no resistances, he's got nothing that will stop this Kayn, or even an Ivia from literally destroying him in one shot, so he's got to be so careful with his positioning.
Yeah, and I think you might even see something like a Locket picked up at some point, but with the stopwatch for now, they might be happy enough that they can still win team fights. They just have to get to team fights before Kayn takes someone out.
And that's the thing, we've kind of talked about how, you know, this lane phase or this lane orientated Enclave and Barrage are looking for kind of, you know, the kind of pick potential with, you know, the kind of the Braum and the Lucian, but this Kayn is being the pick. It's the pick potential solo, and that is super scary if you're on Enclave, because you need to respect the fact that this Barrage team don't have to be grouped to catch you. You could see 4 people on the map, think you're safe, and then boom, click, you're gone. Yeah,
especially now with the Duskblade finish, that's a huge amount of quick damage coming out from Kayn, because that procs with your passive to get a little bit of extra damage down. I'm interested to see if they can continue to get this snowballing, but it's actually Rumble.
Yeah, Equalizer goes down, does separate the team. There is the Glacial Fissure. He does take a half culling to the back. Ignite goes down, he's ticking, and he goes down eventually. There's the Taliyah wall coming in now. Seven, a little bit of a rock and a hard place, does get Seismic shoved back. They do not land the Dark Binding. He flashes, but it's all in vain. Now they're going to try and jump onto the Kayn. Reflect, you don't need to go versus 4. Unfortunately, he probably should have just left Anivia to die.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing right there. Was the catch there for Enclave. They're now still in control of this game. I'm interested to see where they can go from here, because they can continue to aggress. We were talking about how strong their comp is. We're now starting to see elements of that. They're going to get this tower and then have a comfortable 2k or so gold lead.
Yeah, and Aatrox actually just gets the minions away. Oh, sorry, Governor just gets the minions away, but does not matter as the turret does fall anyway, as we see a replay now. And hopefully is going to be that bot lane straight into the top
going
side.
off. Rift actually managed to get away from a lot of what they were throwing down, but most importantly here, forcing away the flashes. And this was actually so close. Once that slow came in, Jakabaka just survives it in time.
Yeah, and here we see Seb. He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah. The seismic shove actually covers all of that distance as well. It doesn't look like it does, but yeah, nowhere to go. Aaron sitting on top of him, and now they're able to quickly turn around. It's a 4v2 with one of your members caught out, so it was never going to go particularly well for you.
No, unfortunately for Reflect, he looked to try and pick up something, ends up just giving away a free kill to the side of Enclave, and now starting to go for Vision. Has got that display to help him with the Vision control, does proc and give you a free one-hit kill onto Vision, which is nice.
This is how you should be playing Kayn, though. You want to make sure that they have no wards in their own jungle, and then you're just going to try use those to really quickly run through the walls, pick someone off before they start fights.
Maybe they look for the Aatrox, maybe they look for the Talia. We'll have to see what Barrage do, but Enclave, as you said, still very much in control. Baron buff now going to be spawned. He pops in our picture-in-picture.
There he is.
Barrage setting up around there. No real vision on this left side.
Death rush. Death rush. Let's see if they can make it work. Let's see.
There's no reason for... I don't think there's a reason for Enclave to really go in on top of this. Hado forced to flash. Did get the Dark Binding there onto Reflect. He could not flash Alvar or in pursuit. And Enclave, they need to start being a lot more respectful. They need to be careful. And as I say that, though, Barrage also need to be just as respectful.
Seb almost gets taken out there. It's either respectful of Reflect, and then you can probably take anyone else on as the members of Enclave.
Agreed. Individually or in a group, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Let's see now what Monkiz wants to go for here.
Almost.
Does not get the seismic shove, but does get the dash. Reflect really wants this pink ward. You don't really have the vision, Reflect, and that was just plain greedy. Yeah,
the Dark Binding came over. You actually spotted the Morgana there towards the end with the red trinket. Still not enough for him to respond in time, and he'd already queued away. Should have had that back up, but I guess not able to get it off just before the binding hit. And down he goes.
And without that threat of a fairy-fed Kayn coming in and one-shotting you,
it's time for their siege.
It's time for their siege, like I was just talking about.
Oh, it's a triple infernal before they need to siege, though, and you just took out a jungler.
Yeah, this is slow. There's been life from Barrage, but there's not going to be much if Enclave can keep picking up these picks.
Yeah, I mean, massive credit to Reflect. He did really well keeping them in the game, in the early game, and they're still not out. Because Anivia, of course, can't stall out quite effectively. But I just think Enclave's siege is too strong. They should be setting up now. If they can make another pick like that, it's Baron. And then you start looking to bring down the base.
Honestly, even if they assemble some kind of a vision control around that Baron, Barrage need to be so respectful of the damage that even then they can't really face check. If they do, they probably die. So Baron is very much something I feel like both teams are going to be looking at right now. We see the initial control of the... Vision is in favor of Barrage. Bad guy Morgana. Hado just unleashing the Talia Krug or Gromp.
See now, clearing out the Vision. Barrage have control over this Baron, but I think Enclave know that they don't really have the damage to start it up or to take it. Even with Lucian, hasn't finished that Black Cleaver yet. Not a huge amount of damage on him. It's not even Reflect.
Oh, they knew where he was. They had a sixth sense, and Reflect gonna get taken down by the red buff that Bendy had on his Caitlyn. Jungler down. You talked about it. This could well spell Baron.
Yeah, I think they're gonna establish control first. No need to go over eager onto it. You can even just set up a siege as a 4v5, but it's just dealing with Anivia becomes very annoying. Not if you pick her off, though.
Not if you pick her off. You gotta be careful not to get picked off, though. Monkiz takes a lot of damage now, sitting in it. Has got flash. Is gonna go golden. But honestly, we'll probably have to flash now. Doesn't actually do it as he thought Hado was going to be there on time. That's going to be a 2 junglers going down. Hado not quite in the right position. I feel like that was a miscommunication because right there, it's like as soon as you come off gold and you just flash away.
Yeah, you need to do it earlier though. As soon as you finish the stopwatch, there was actually an issue because the Q could be back up from Anivia. And then Anivia just flash Qs you. You saw the Q go off at the start though. Flash as soon as the wall has blocked you in, and then you're okay.
Yeah, definitely Enclave playing with fire right now. They still have a 4,000 gold.
Playing with 3 fires.
Yes, 3 Infernals. Very correct. Very correct. God damn it. That was just poor English. But, you know, little mistakes like this, they can afford to make them, mainly because they have picked up this massive, not massive, but a pretty sizable goal lead in this mid-game. They've got themselves a slightly better kind of, you know, team fight composition. They've got a lot of ways they can work around it despite making these little mistakes.
Yeah, and what I will say is Reflect has done a great job in terms of getting picks off and stuff, but what Enclave have done is they've kind of ignored him. They've gone, okay, he's picked up a few kills, you know, maybe he's picking us off while we're making these plays, but we still control the map. We've still pushed up to the right towers. We've got the damage where we wanted. Right now, it looks like they've got the vision where they want to.
Yeah, they've got enough vision. They've got enough control. And with that Leandries and the Oblivion Orb, it's just not going to be a fun time for Poppy, even with the Adaptive Helm, because she can't trade with the Rumble. The Rumble does not have any fear of her, and he can just keep pushing up. Even with magic resistance, it's just not going to help your case.
Yeah, I mean, as a tank Poppy, you kind of struggle to almost get through the shield, and if you E forward into that, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, we'll have a quick look at the vision. Before we do that, though, we're going to see Reflect jumping in. There's going to be flashes burned from both sides. Reflect trying to get someone. He does actually take down the Haddo, but Haddo wasn't the priority target right now. The rest of the damage has arrived. It's just not going to be enough for the side of Barrage. They're just trying to back away, maybe actually getting a little bit of a turnaround as Anivia completely untouched. Seb able to just kind of deter any kind of a re-engage. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Jungler, sorry, 1 for 2. Braum also went down. It's a jungler and support for just the support. Barrage, slowly but surely, we're seeing that they're just not able to deal with this massive amount of huge AoE damage coming out from the side of Enclave.
Yeah, and we talked about how strong Enclave's comp were in the mid-game. We're starting to see that come out in force. Every time something happens, you have Aatrox just jumping onto the back line. The front line are being shredded by Enclave, by Enclave, because realistically their front line isn't able to jump straight in, and if it does, you get Rumble. The equalizer's insane. Let's have a quick look at this.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the replay, and you can just see the amount of damage.
Like, Reflect has to go through so much just to get there in the first place. Braum has to flash forward. They just cut that distance away, and Reflect is taken out. The triple Infernal gives them so much damage, and then Aatrox is just able to get off a massive flank.
Yeah, Aatrox comes in. In fairness, both Chakamaka and Seb untouched.
It just doesn't matter, though, if you won the fight. I mean, if you zoned them off, you still win the fight. I mean, sure, your carries survive, but the rest of your team didn't, and now it's more control. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Barrage need to try and find some kind of a pick. Bendy almost became that pick, as now Aaron gonna jump over. We see the Weaver's Wall.
Seb,
now Nivea. Seb needs to flash away. They do get a block on the Weaver's Wall, but Seb goes into Egg Nivea form. Rift, though, actually getting a knight. Needs to flash away. They have got a lot of damage now available to them with Aaron. World Ender has not come off cooldown. Now it has. Again, like you said, they get a kill. Yes, they have to back away, but Enclave siege potential is ridiculous, and there's just so much burst damage as well. Enclave are going to be able to take this and potentially even an inhibitor turret.
Yeah, they can keep going forward. As you said, World Ender just came off cooldown, so they can just run Aatrox under the tower if they need it.
Oh, there's so much damage. Governor trying to go in. This could potentially be the last fight for the side of Barrage. They do get a knockout of 2 people now that Haddo has been taken down. But again, same situation. He does go down, but at the cost of Reflect's life. World Ender goes off. He is not able to get
I mean,
the
I
reset.
do not able right now.
This is able as well. My English very good. Now Seb has to try and deal with that. Inhibitor goes down. Rumble goes down to the bot side to take down another tier 2. It is a 6 tower to 2 gold lead. 6 tower to 2 tower lead. 12 kills to 8 and a 8,000 gold lead. It is
and your
desperate.
Literal ideal dragon run now. Triple Infernal into a mountain. That is going to be an extremely strong Enclave. Close to a 10k gold lead. They don't even need to take Baron at this point. We talked about their siege potential. They've already cracked open an inhibitor. If they want to end in the next push, I guess they can move towards Baron, but they can just as well take those side lanes. They have those options open to them, but the biggest issue for them just pushing up with the side waves is you have to deal with the Nivea. Clearly they can.
702 Caitlyn. Caitlyn is a monster. There was no mid-game lull. It was just a monster Caitlyn.
Oh, there was a mid-game lull, all right. That has been great for them. They're doing they're extremely strong right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Reflect can go 1 for 1 again. I mean, it's nice that he's picking someone off, but really that's their only saving grace. Barrage looks somewhat even in kills, but map control, gold, objectives, it's all Enclave.
And the fact that the Reflect has been bullying Hado and picking up that one single kill is now gone because Zonya's just been picked up. He's not going to be able to kill the Morgana, which is, again...
I see 3 Zonyas. Anyone who has AP has picked themselves up as Zonyas. They should be okay.
And you imagine a GA, if we even get to that point...
If we get that far.
Would be, it just becomes impossible. And we talked about why this blue Kayn is not exactly picked up so much. Yes, it's flashy. Yes, it does a crazy amount of damage. But unfortunately, it does not scale incredibly well.
No. And especially if the team is grouping up, as in they don't play like a solo queue team, you're going to start to struggle as you get to about this stage of the game. Aaron doesn't really feel that damage, heals it off with probably 1 Q. And now it's Baron's setup time. See if they can get a pick before they go for it, because they don't really want to let Kayn into the pit.
Yeah, the whole thing now is to kind of Kayn denial. Kayn can still chase and change the course of this game if he's able to steal it. Sev quickly backs away. Does not want to get caught up. Actually, Dart Binding does get caught into it. Aaron actually went in on his Q and then was like, I'm stuck. But, like you said, the siege just too strong. It only takes 1 minion wave. You're going to take it down.
The key is they need to make sure Anivia isn't set up behind the turret, which is why they were looking for the pick. If they got that pick, it would have guaranteed them up to the inhibitor. Now they could try make it work, but they still want to see if they can find Anivia here. They've left her low.
Yeah, they've left her alone.
Oh, they've left her very low.
They've left her incredibly low and alone. Bendy able to pick up that one, and this is most likely going to be the final fight coming in. Double kill for the Caitlyn. Caitlyn may look to just try and go for a triple as the Poppy just tries. Governor is looking, Governor is wanting, Governor is going to be the triple kill sacrifice. 4 dead. None taken down on the side of Enclave, and that is almost certainly going to be the game.
Yeah, they have the super minion wave now. They're actually delaying that super minion by TPing in on them, but fair enough. You now have your Caitlyn back in. Who needs super minions when you can just run right up to their base? Only Braum left to respond. This should be Enclave taking the game. As expected, relatively clean, but Reflect showing signs of life for Barrage.
Yeah, definitely looking a little bit better as Barrage fall to Enclave in game 1.
So, Kieran, you're now joining us. What do you have to make of that 30-minute game that was relatively controlled from Enclave, aside from the picks Reflect made?
Controlled? Interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I would say controlled, but go on.
Yeah, I think especially past about 18 minutes, it looked very good. But, I mean, that was a mess of a mid-game. That was a messy mid-game. And I think taken by surprise, maybe haven't played against the Kayn that went Shadow Assassin that early on as well, as per usual. Very, very surprising amount of damage coming out from Reflect. I think he single-handedly kept them in the early to mid-game just by the amount of individual picks he took off that gave them more time. But overall, you just saw that, to be honest, Enclave just better players. I mean, on an individual level, and Bendy, especially on his Caitlyn, absolutely crushing left, right, and center there.
I think the big thing for me was after that point, they went, okay, let's shore up the issue. Every time Reflect was looking for an opening, there was 3 people beside each other.
Yeah.
And then they all build their Zonyas. They get to the point where they need to actually deal with Kayn. And that's, I think, the best way you saw them adapt. It did take them a little longer than it should have. Realistically, after that first pick, you go, okay, he's gone Shadow Assassin, guys. Everyone give him some space. But let's have a quick look at the damage, and you can see how effective that was.
Yeah, I think let's have a look, and I think no surprises there with Caitlyn. But overall, the damage output from the team from Enclave, it was just big damage everywhere. I mean, they obviously were running like a quadruple threat composition, so you expecting something like this, but overall...
I mean, the thing I'm looking at as well is, as we assumed, Reflect was the thing keeping Barrage in there. I mean, as Shadow Assassin with the highest damage, it's pretty impressive.
Jakamaka was doing okay, but overall, yeah, low damage output from the rest of the team. Governor and... you wouldn't expect Governor to do a huge amount, but Anivia really...
Anivia that was exceptionally low.
Yeah. I think, yeah, not a great game, but obviously we were expecting this result from the first outset. I think, again, I'm still not going to turn around and say that was a good composition from Enclave. I think it was a fun composition that I think had its role in just being, in sort of allowing them to be a bit more flexible in their draft, also allowing them to style a little bit, because it was a bit of a style composition realistically. And you saw that, you know, in that mid-game, they were getting punished. There were points where it looked like, I think Barrage had a gold lead very momentarily in that game at some point, and must have been very close if it wasn't. But regardless, it was, you know, against a better team, that mid-game would have not have gone back in their favor, you know? Yeah,
I mean, I'll disagree. I don't dislike the comp as much as I think you do, because I think you still have that clear line to victory. You still have that really strong mid-game, and you saw, yes, maybe a better team would have punished it slightly more, but once they grouped up more as 5,
Oh,
they
it was a
had
great,
control.
good team fight composition. I'm not going to,
Yeah.
I'm not going to put anything past that. And you know, but I think it looked good when they were 5 because they were already so far ahead.
Yeah.
Potentially.
You know, I think again, I'm not throwing shade at the composition or the drafting. I definitely think it was a fun and interesting composition. I'm just saying that it's I have never seen them draft something like that before.
I was just about to say,
you know,
this is not something that we would associate with Enclave, especially this iteration of
I'm
Enclave.
still.
if they, look,
I would still say, like, actually moving away from that point, though, this is a good time to try some newer strategies that you want to
Yeah.
see if you can execute on these. Maybe you take them up against some of the better teams. You're saying don't. I'm saying maybe.
Devil's advocate is a great
Yeah.
position to play on this, and I think it's very important that we discuss what they might have been thinking, because at the end of the day, it won, so it was obviously good enough to win.
Yes.
And if you take aside all skill differences there, you know, there was a composition that did result in a win for Enclave. So you know, I'm not saying that we're going to lose at that composition. I'm just saying that I wouldn't have expected them to pick that versus
Yes.
XL, for instance, in a grand final.
Definitely has a lot more percentage towards can screw up, like blow up in face. A hell of a lot higher percentage there than in a lot of other
What I will say is a
compositions.
better team with that Anivia might have been able to hold out a little bit more if they played a bit safer in terms of positioning. You're avoiding that potential of being dove, because you saw that a lot of Talia walls just cut Seb off entirely.
Yeah.
If you're playing a little closer as a team, maybe you could shut down those kind of plays.
Yeah, I think overall, what I'm going to say about it, just to wrap it up, is good composition. It won, but if they did that versus XL, I would have been thoroughly surprised. You know,
Yeah.
I think maybe the way that the draft ended up gave them that flexibility, but overall.
I'm interested to see how Game 2 goes if they go for a draft that's as strange to us. It's as strange from their style even.
Yeah, and also it did also give Rifty the counter pick, which what I will say about that draft, in a positive light, is that they got a counter pick top lane on blue side, which is important for Enclave, which is important for them because they don't often get that on blue side. So, you know, maybe because they're on red side, we won't see a sort of a similar strain of composition.
Yeah.
But they got Rifty into a good matchup on the top side of the map on blue side, which is hard to do, and that was because of the amount of flexible picks that they had in that draft. Very hard for the opponent to guess what was coming, and it allowed them to find good matchups in individual lanes.
I also think because the Kayn was locked in, they got moved away from allowing Monkas onto a tank. So I
Yes.
think Barrage did move them in there, and unfortunately it didn't work for them, but it certainly slowed down their game plan.
So, if you want to give us some feedback on the broadcast so far, please go to the LVP UK Twitter, and also, I'm guessing at Twitch chat at some point they will post a questionnaire or survey. It takes 3 minutes to fill in, and you guys could give us feedback on the broadcast, the casting, which is brilliant, by the way, and everything else. But obviously, it's really important to all of us here at LVP that you make sure you give us the feedback so we can improve and improve the broadcast overall, especially going forward into the finals and beyond. Right, we'll be back after a short break where we'll jump into the next game between Barrage and Enclave. Don't go anywhere.